we're talking today about what happens when a personal injury case is over with. You know, we see all those billboards all over creation, especially when we go on a trip. You know, millions of dollars here, millions of dollars there. Well, how does all that work? Well, first of all, not everybody's getting millions of dollars. And if they are getting millions of dollars, probably they deserve it. Probably they're in pain the rest of their life, or, you know, they've lost a loved one, and it was somebody else's fault. So how does all of that get spent? Where does all that go? Well, first of all, most people who've been in a personal injury accident have had lots of medical bills, and those have to be paid back. You know, the insurance company will say, hey, we'll front you the money, but you got to pay us back because it was somebody else's fault, and that's called subrogation. Not that you have to memorize that, but that is also part of what the attorney who's dealing with your personal injury action is dealing with. Now, the rest of the money that your client gets, or you get when you're in an accident, it's important to try to figure out how much of that somebody's going to need for the rest of their life. And it's important to try to figure out a way that it won't all disappear. You know, if you treat that money like it's the lottery and go out and start buying gold-plated TVs and, you know, space shoes that help you hover on the ground, it's going to be gone real fast. It's such a better idea to do some estate planning at that point. You know, get the money in a trust and live off of interest. You know, if you got $1 million and could get 5% interest, you know, that's $50,000 every single year. And most of us don't make $50,000 a year at our jobs. And if you could just put that money in the bank, then the bank can send you on a monthly basis, you know, the interest that you're living off of. You never touch the principal. And then you don't have to worry about being homeless because you've gone crazy buying ridiculous stuff. You know, you don't need to buy, 5 million marbles and have a marble contest and then find yourself in a position where you can't take care of yourself. Because most people who've been in those accidents, you know, who've been injured that kind of way, they can't ever work again. And if they can't ever work again, then they have to use the money from their judgment or their settlement to try to take care of them for the rest of their life. And that's why it's so important to work with financial planners so that it's not lost, so that you have money to take care of you for the rest of your life. And it's also important to meet with the financial planners to make sure your family doesn't steal all your money. You know, sometimes we have family members that think, well, Dad's getting ready to get a whole bunch of money. That means I'm getting ready to get a whole bunch of money. Well, no, Dad was horribly hurt, and we got to take care of Dad. And when Dad doesn't need it anymore, well, he may leave it to you, but that's up to Dad. Dad's a grown man, and Dad has to figure it out. Same if Mom's hurt, you know. And so it's so important to get out in front of that so that everything's set up, everything's locked in place, so that if you do have one of those big judgments, you don't have to worry about all your neighbors knocking on your door saying, hey, will you buy me a tractor? No, you just say, hey, I can't do that. The bank's got it all locked up so that I'll be taken care of the rest of my life. So I don't have to move in with you later on when I burn through all the money. So that's an important part of the personal injury action issues. It's, you know, making sure that there's plenty of money to take care of your client for the rest of their life. Because it's not so much about how much money you get. It's about getting enough money to take care of you the rest of your life. So you don't find yourself in a position where you're so miserable or in a tent under a bridge that you can't take care of yourself. You can't take care of your loved ones. And if you've been in an accident or you need help with that, look, give me a call. I understand personal injury from the beginning to the end. We're going to make sure you're taken care of. We're going to make sure there are plenty of experts, plenty of doctors, and plenty of forethought to put you in the best position to move forward. So if you need help, give me a call. Fuller Bumpers in Batesville. bring you in, work through everything, and we'll get you headed in a better direction.